So as I mentioned before we started recording, I'm gonna have so much fun with this because I haven't thought about any of these tips that you're talking about. Like this is totally new. So my brain is just lit up with, wow, this is gonna be some great learning. So first, can you tell me what do you mean by what is how does this so how does social change drive the evolution of leadership? And then the second part would be why is it so important for leaders to really hone in on this?
So I think we've all heard someone say, or we've said it ourselves, oh, this next generation, they don't get it. They are this, they are that. And it's this blame that I, as a experienced adult, have to change to make them happy or they're wrong. But if you
Mm,
really stop and think, and you think about the evolution of leadership and you look at history, you will watch how that happens. And it's not the next generation that's causing all this drama because they don't want to do this or do that. It's really the social change. And
mm,
so you think about early 1900s, like if we think about even the US, the early 1900s, late 1800s, we were on farms and we were leading our family. We didn't necessarily have a large group of people with different agendas. If you worked primarily with your family, your agenda was a family. Your agenda was how do we stay, healthy and get what we need, and we work together as a team. You might have a little bread bakery, but it's, your son and your husband working with you. Like, we just didn't have this idea of leading large groups unless it was a military driven exercise.
mm,
And that is a lot of why you see early leadership being very military influenced, because that's all we had, which
mm.
was highly directive. And so then we had the Industrial Revolution. And so for the first time, we were starting to see groups of people from all different backgrounds, all different needs go into a factory and all do the same work over and over and over again. And at that time, if you think about technology, if you were in a smaller town, the person who owned the newspaper was probably the person who also owned the factory. So the information you were delivered was curated specifically for you to keep doing what you were supposed to do. There's nothing else out there. Don't look out there. This is all, you're so lucky. People started getting hurt. People weren't being cared for. They weren't getting days off. There was a lot of injuries, deaths. And so we had unions because finally someone said, you know what, this isn't okay. Like, the social change brought on this idea of we have to think about how we care for our workers.
Mm,
Then came, the internet, and all of a sudden, your employer wasn't the only one giving you information. You could go find information. And so the employer wasn't really able to curate this perfect story anymore. So they were held accountable to their actions because people had information. And so you can just see over time that social change really does influence our work environments. Obviously, the amount of people that work remote today, and you hear people saying all the time, no one wants to go to the office anymore. Well, we proved you didn't have to. And for some people, that's important to them. For some people, they want to be in the office.
yeah.
And so that social change is changing how we lead. Most of us lead in a hybrid situation. And so that's, I think, what's important to realize is that we don't necessarily say, hey, young generation, you're wrong. We say, what's the social change and how do I embrace that social change so that I'm able to lead all generations? Because what we do know is what was good for 3 generations ago, that next generation made it better. So unions made it better and safer. It was better for everyone in the workplace.
Mm.
Having flexibility so you're able to work is better for everybody, not just one generation. And so, it's interesting when you start thinking about the history and evolution of social behaviors and how it truly does impact our work environments.